So, hello everybody. It is now 3:30 and I welcome everybody to today's Health NCP Net 2.0 webinar on health infrastructures. So my name is Erlina Liggins. I am a German health NCP and I will be responsible for the technical administration today. Before we start, I would like to give you some short information. So you will be able to hear the webinar either through the speakers of your computer or via your headset. If you do not have speakers, you can also join the webinar using your telephone. For this, simply dial the number displayed above in the welcome window. It's a German landline. Once you have dialed in, please mute your phone by pressing star and 6. Otherwise, we will be able to hear everything you are saying. So the webinar will be recorded so that we will be able to distribute the recording to you afterwards. And if you should have any question during the presentations, we will have 4 in total today, or during the discussion, please simply write them into the chat window at the lower left of your screen. The speakers will answer your questions after the presentations. And one last request. When you end the session, the webinar session, there will be a survey showing up in your internet browser. It would be really great if you could participate in this short survey in order to give us a feedback for this webinar. Thanks in advance. And now I will hand over to my colleague, Lydia Kamla, who will say a few words about the Health NCP Net. Lydia, welcome.
Thank you, Alina. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Excellent. So thank you very much for this introduction and hello to everyone. My name is Lydia Kamla and I'm a scientific officer at DLR Project Management Agency. And I'm also NCP for Health in Germany. We are partner within the HNN project, and for the next minute I would like to give you a brief introduction on our project and the services that we offer for you. Well, our Health NCP Net is a Horizon 2020 funded project under the first call in 2014. So we started in 2015 and will be running until autumn of 2019, so autumn next year. Our main objective is to professionalize and align the health NCP services across Europe so that we can give better support and guidance to applicants for their Horizon 2020 proposal. But how will we meet the objectives and reach the impact that I just mentioned? Well, to achieve this, we are providing services to 3 major target groups that you can see on the slide. The Health NCP community, by sharing experiences and best practices, making sure we meet the needs and fill the gaps of knowledge. Newcomers, NCPs with fewer resources, EU 13 NCPs, and third country NCPs. And offering different services such as the development of supporting tools, trainings and webinars, mentoring programs, meet and exchange workshops, and collaborations with other networks. Another target group are, of course, the applicants. We offer webinars like this one on certain issues and subjects around Horizon 2020. Some webinars are with speakers from the European Commission or relevant initiatives. That depends, of course, on the subject of the webinar. And for example, we had a great webinar on clinical studies in Horizon 2020 proposals together with ECRAN and European Commission already. We also organize international brokerage events to help applicants all over Europe and beyond to get into quality consortia, meet other international peers, and expand their networks. 3 brokerage events have already taken place in Brussels, always the day before or after the Health Open Info Day that is organized every year by the European Commission. We also organized 1 brokerage event in Paris and 1 in Zagreb. And as brokerage events are intersectoral and interdisciplinary, do not hesitate to join such events and take the opportunity to find the right consortium or the missing partner for your project. Concerning the European Commission, we also provide services for them by giving structured feedback on the requirements, obstacles, and experiences regarding the implementation of Horizon 2020 from the different countries that might feed into future calls and guidelines, for example. You can find relevant information on our website about upcoming calls and events, as well as on funding opportunities and how to apply. Our calendars of events and open calls in European health research even go beyond the Societal Challenge 1 and also take into account other initiatives under this umbrella, like the Innovative Medicines Initiative, the IMI, or EDCTP, or AAL, and many other initiatives. So please take a look and get a good overview of what's coming up. You can also follow us on social media. We have a Twitter account where we share relevant information for you, like the opening of a call or upcoming events and things like that. We also have a YouTube channel where you can watch all the past webinars in case you missed one or would like to recap some information. And this webinar from today will also be available on this channel afterwards. I would also like to draw your attention to our upcoming webinars on European investigator involvement in US NIH on the 4th of February, and another webinar on Horizon 2020 proposal template and evaluation criteria on the 25th of February. The registrations are still open, so please feel free to register on our website and join these webinars also. And with this, I'd like to hand over back to Alena and hope you enjoy this webinar today. Alena, are you there? Alena, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
So sorry for that. So back to today's topic on health research infrastructures. Our speakers of today, it is my pleasure to welcome Annalisa Bader, who is an EU project manager at BBMRI. Then we have Anne-Charlotte Fauvel, Head of European Projects at EATRIS. Then we have Jacques Demotte, Director General of ECRAN, and Juan Arenas, Head of the Project Management Unit Elixir. Following the four presentations, we will have time for questions and answers. But now, Annalisa, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. I am Annalisa Bader. I am EU Project Manager in BBMRI. Firstly, thank you for the organizers. I am glad that you extended the invitation to talk today to me, because originally my colleague Francesco Florindi was supposed to give the talk. But I think I can manage, as I am the EU Project Manager, and I will talk today about BBMRI, what are our aims, our activities, and of course about possible collaborations. So BBMRI is a pan-European biobanking and biomolecular resources research infrastructure. As you can see on the slide, this is a map of our member states. We are truly a European diffused research infrastructure. With the dark color, you can see the members of BBMRI, and with the lighter color, you can see the observers. For example, Switzerland is an observer. It's just in the voting rights in our general as well as the fee conference, but the services we provide to everybody. So we are 20 countries, and we have more than 500 biobanks in our network. BBMRI was founded in 2013, and it was out of a great vision of several biobanking experts in Europe. And they understood the need of bringing together EU biobanks under one umbrella. Last year, we felt like we are already quite well established research infrastructure in Europe. Therefore, we revised our vision and mission, and we have established our vision paper, which might be interesting for you to read. It's the vision for the next 5 years. We want to move from the research-oriented organization to a more service-oriented organization, because different studies show that only about 5 to 10% of samples in the biobanks are being used for research. So we feel like the service in between might be missing, and we want to be the facilitator of that biomedical research. So what are the services that BBMRI, Eric, offers? We offer support with the LC issues. We have various IT tools and also the QM services, and I'm going to dive deeper into all of them. LC services. My colleague, Michaela Meyerhofer, is leading the LC common services. Firstly, we have a knowledge base, which is an open access resource platform in BBMRI ERIC website. You can browse all LC-related matters relevant to biobanking. This knowledge base is updated periodically, so it should be up to date always. We also have a custom-based help desk, meaning that if you have an LC-related question, you can submit it to our help desk. A person answering your questions. But note that this is not legal advice. If you seek legal advice, then you should seek it from lawyers. This is just to support you in LC matters. And we have also different task forces. Here I have pointed out our IT tools that we have developed in the past years, and the IT directors, Michael Hummel and Peter Holub. The directory is the world's biggest biobank directory. You can reach more than 600 biobanks with only one entry point. This is our directory. So 626 biobanks, 1,363 collections, and an estimate over 100 million samples and associated data. Where you can find it? You can find it easily. In BBMRI ERIC website. And this is metadata. It's a highly aggregate data just about the biobanks and their collections and biobank networks. This is not a search tool for individual samples. So this makes the findability of biobanks easier. The next tool is the BBMRI ERIC Negotiator. It's a tool, it's a communication tool between a researcher and many different biobanks in the BBMRI ERIC network. This should simplify the communication between the researcher and the biobank, but also vice versa. It is not search tool for individual samples, but you can ask samples from the biobanks what you might need. This you can also find easily via our website and our directory. What about accessing these samples and data in BBMR-ERIC partner biobanks? We have one access policy, and it gives a common ground for the organized and harmonized sharing of data and samples in our biobanks. So you can discover biobanks and collections through the BBMRI directory, which is open access. Anybody can browse there. When you are generating a research question, then you can discover the preliminary sample data availability. This is anonymized data, and you can just browse statistics. If you already have a research question, a research project, then you can start negotiating sample data through the negotiator. And then you sign the MTA or DTA with our partner biobank. They deliver the samples, the data, and afterwards the researcher reports results to BBMR-ERIC as well as to the partner biobank. So this is our access pipeline. Who does BBMR-ERIC serve? So last year, when we were redefining our vision and our mission, we also were again thinking, who are our stakeholders? They are biobankers, researchers, patients, clinicians, politicians, partners, industry. And we have the stakeholder forum, which is connecting BBMR-ERIC to new partners. Last year, we concentrated highly on patients. This year, we want to concentrate on industry and then the researchers. My colleague Francesco Florindi is doing an awesome job in Brussels connecting the different stakeholders. And then we have the quality management service. My colleague Andrea Wutte is the quality manager in BBMRI, and I think she has put it really nicely into words that our goal is to make samples comparable across different countries and different biobanking systems. So we have to have access to samples and data which have defined quality. We have various quality management services, from Knowledge Hub, which includes knowledge about international biobanking standards, quality management in European Union funded projects. We have different webinars, counseling. We offer training and support in international biobanking standards, and we also do auditing. And we do that all for increasing the visibility of biobanks and sample collections. A good example of that is the colorectal cancer cohort. This is funded through Adopt BBMR-ERIC H2020 project. Our goal is to gather 10,000 colon cancer datasets from all over Europe. This is a permanent asset of BBMRI. It is not restricted to any specific research question. It should enable a large spectrum of different types of research. It's a large cohort, and for our biobanks to connect with BBMRI and present their research assets. Our goal is 10,000 datasets of colon cancer, as already said. At the moment, we are at 6,600, and we are still collecting. As the project is coming to an end in end of March, then we have still the last push to do in that sense. And as said, this will be an asset of BBMRI, and everybody can request access to it. But of course, to access the pseudonymized data, you need to have a defined research project. If you just want to browse what is it about, you get the information in the directory. For example, which biobanks are participating. I see in the chat line if the genomic data is included in the data set. No, it's not included in the data set, but it could be a possible add-on. So we have, in the beginning of ADOPT project, the data model was defined for the colon cancer cohort. And this was a consensus in our consortium, and the consensus was that at this point of time, genomic data is not included. BBMRI is very active. Okay, I'm going back to the colon cancer cohort because I think it's very interesting for you. Physical samples available or only digital. So we in BBMRI are collecting the data, meaning we don't collect the samples. But the inclusion criteria is that there is samples available in the biobank. So if a researcher is interested in accessing the samples, they can ask through BBMRI ERIC Negotiator access with a defined research project, of course. I hope this I could reply to your question. Perfect. So BBMRI ERIC is active in various H2020 projects, in fact in 19 different projects. And we are also active in 2 IMI projects. How we manage with all of our collaboration requests. Basically, we welcome all of your requests. You can submit it easily through BBMRI ERIC website, or you can contact me directly. We have an internal evaluation of the requests. We do it in the headquarters as well as with our national nodes. And then a decision will be made if we participate or not after the evaluation. Because we are here to help you find the right partners in the biobanking field. And I think a very important part of BBMRI is to help you find the right biobank with the right expertise. So we want to facilitate that, and that's one of our goals, to help the researchers do the researchers with the correct partners. I see there is a question about typical type of project activities for BBMRI ERIC in H2020 and IMI collaborations. We are providing our knowledge in the IT systems. That's a lot of the projects are about IT systems, also about quality management. I think these are the two services that are mostly in the projects, but also the LC service. So LC expertise is often times different work package in H2020 or IMI collaborations, and we are leading the LC support. Just to pitch an event, how to meet us, we are co-organizing the European Biobank Week in Lübeck. You can find more information in europebiobankweek.eu. I hope to see everyone there and we can talk face to face. And lastly, BBMRI headquarters, we are based in Austria, Graz. We are a team serving all our European member states. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Annalisa, thank you very much for this great presentation, and thank you also for being so proactive and answering some of the urgent questions already. So now I would like to welcome the next presenter, which is Anne-Charlotte.
Hello.
So it's uploading. Mm-hmm. There it is. Okay, so
Maybe it's lacking some visual, missing a visual on the front page, but that's okay. Great, thank you. Thank you, Elena. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here and present very shortly AHS. So I will start giving some background information and a few words about the AHS infrastructure, and I will provide you more details on how you can concretely involve AHS in your Horizon 2020 applications. My voice is too low. Okay, I'll speak up. I hope it's better now.
now it's perfect. Now it's perfect. Thank you.
Great. So I'm Anne Chartwell. I'm head of European projects at AHS. AHS is a distributed infrastructure, just like BBMRI. So we have 90 member institutions in 13 countries, and we have a coordination office based in Amsterdam. So I just wanted to start the presentations with a background slide about the research and development pipeline, because I think there are two main important facts that really drove the creation of AHS a few years ago. Still very low. I'm really screaming, I promise. Okay. So you will see on this slide there are two aspects. First, of course, the R&D cost per new drug has increased, and you see like still the cost, out-of-pocket costs are still very high at every development phase. Okay, it's still very low. Is it better now? I've increased the speaker volume a little bit. No, it's not better. Okay.
I think it's fine now.
Okay,
Just continue.
Yeah. So first, the high cost, and secondly, we see that there is a stalling of the research development productivity, especially at phase 2 with around 65% failure rate. So here I'm using a visual. You cannot see it in details, but I think it's a visual we've developed as part of a MOOC, as an online course, thanks to Erasmus Plus grant, which is called The Landscape of Translational Medicine. So I put the link there in the slide. Feel free to visit it. It's an open access course, anyone can take it. And this is a visual we developed for our PhD students, which are our main target for this course, where we made a comparison of the drug development process as a bumpy road. So the reality is like it is a bumpy road with a lot of hurdles on the way before a drug or therapy intervention can reach the patient. So you'll see, for instance, of course, the regulatory aspects or intellectual property could be hurdles. Also, for instance, if the clinical need is not confirmed or if the clinical trial design is suboptimal. So these are just a few examples of the hurdles that can be on the way. And what's important is in order to get to the end of the road, which means to reach the patient, we need cross-sector collaboration to improve that research productivity. So cross-sector collaboration means a lot of stakeholders should be involved and collaborate, the industry, but also regulators, clinicians, funders, and patients groups. So based on those conclusions, this is how AHRIS started in the early 2000s, the AHRIS infrastructure. The idea was really to pool the academic resources to address the challenges around research productivity. So our main mission is to support researchers in developing their biomedical discoveries into novel translational tools and interventions for better health outcome society. So to achieve that, we do collaborate with academia, industry, and also funders to overall speed up health research. I'll show you a map of our current members. So we have 11 members currently. So these are the ones in dark green, dark blue, and we also have 2 observers, so Latvia and Bulgaria, which joined us recently. So this is the current map of our members, and we do have 90 academic institutes represented. So a few words about our approach. As I said, we work with industry, so which means as an infrastructure, we do help large pharma, but also biotech, SMEs form public-private partnerships with our member institutes. So we do have pharma as a main user of our expertise and facilities, and collaborations can be very diverse. We also collaborate with research funders, where we'll support the investigators to design and execute research projects to make sure that the projects reach the highest potential to reach the patient. We'll also collaborate with national competent authorities, and the idea with the goal to bring regulators closer to academia and facilitate early regulatory dialogue for complex projects. And of course, we also work closely with academic investigators, where we'll provide access to training resources, for instance. The MOOC that I showed on the second slide is one of the examples. And we'll also provide support for funding applications. So this is where I will give you concrete examples on how you can utilize an infrastructure such as AHRIS to accelerate your project. So I just made a comment there about Horizon 2020 because it's true, this is for Horizon 2020, the webinar, but we also are involved in other types of funding instruments. It could be IMI, it can also be IRANET, the European Joint Program for Rare Diseases, the UNANOMED, so other funding programs. So not only Horizon 2020, even national grants in some cases. So really keep that in mind during the rest of the presentation. So as we've received more and more demand for support for funding applications, we've recently restructured our offering around 4 levels of involvement. So the first one is consortium building to help you have a strong consortium. So there it's a free of charge service to any party, so anyone can reach out to us looking for the right European academic partners. Then we will look into a very comprehensive database to find a potential match for your request. Then we'll provide you a list of institutions, and it's your responsibility to reach out to these institutions you want to collaborate with or explore collaboration with. The criteria are quite low in a sense we really want to help as many consortia as possible. So we just make sure that the scope of your idea is translational, and we'll also make sure that the scope of your partner search is specific enough to generate tangible results. The second level of involvement AHRIS can offer is a letter of support. There, it's of course the project idea still has to be translational, of course, but also of high scientific quality. We'll also make sure that the project is in line with our mission to support researchers in developing the discoveries into novel translational tools and interventions. We'll also take a look at the multidisciplinarity of the consortium, making sure there is strong laboratory and clinical expertise represented. In some cases, we'll also make sure industry and operation organizations are also included. And we will only provide letter of support to projects that commit to FAIR principles and foresee a data management plan in the project. This is for the second level. And then the third level, in some cases, we'll also have a partner role in the consortium. So we'll join your proposal to perform various activities. So some of the activities include a regulatory work package, for instance, where we will look at the regulatory strategy of your project, making sure it meets regulatory requirements, and we will also liaise with national regulatory authorities. It could also include HTA or HTA support and translational potential assessment, which means we'll make sure during the execution of your project that important hurdles or red flags such as intellectual property or regulatory aspects are also taken into consideration so you maximize the impact of your proposal. A second aspect is also innovation management. We have joined recently some applications where we'd be leading a work package on innovation management. So that would entail defining industry partnering strategy, also looking at the sustainability of your project, and we can also be involved in we have that online course that I mentioned earlier, but we also provide face-to-face workshops. So we do have a standard list of workshops we can provide. For instance, the one that could be relevant for your proposal is one on public-private collaboration best practices. So these are our standard services, and before joining a proposal, we also have a few criteria that we identified. So in addition to the criteria I explained before, we also have additional criteria because this is requiring additional resources from our side to join the proposal as a partner. So we will make sure that the proposal has a robust work plan given the resources available. So we'll make sure that the proposal has a high translational feasibility. And we'll also would like to see at least one member institution in the consortium. The fourth level of involvement is the one that requires the most resources from the coordination office, is when AHS is actually co-leader of a proposal development. So there will be additional criteria, of course. We'll make sure we get involved in projects where the proposal addresses systematic inefficiencies in medical research. And we'll also make sure that the proposal is coordinated by an AHS member institution. So these really would be our flagship type of initiatives, which of course are limited in numbers because of the resources here from the coordination office. I would like to add this link. I invite you to visit the dedicated page on our website where all these criteria are listed and also the process to follow to make use of any of those levels of involvement. So everything is clear. Otherwise, of course, I'm at your disposal, so please feel free to contact me with any questions with your project idea, and we can see how you can involve the infrastructure. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Anne-Charlotte, for that great presentation. And now I would say we would move on directly to the next. And I invite Jacques Dumont to give his presentation now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will try to do this presentation as short as possible because I understand that we are running late. So I will make a description of the services that are offered by ECRIN, European Clinical Research Infrastructures Network. And this consists mostly of operational services to the management of multinational clinical trials. So this slide explains the reason why there is a need for ECRIN. You can see on the left panel the situation regarding the industry-sponsored trial. You can see that these trials are mostly run in multiple countries in dark blue, and only in some cases they are mostly run in a single country. And it is interesting to see in which country it is the case for Japan, for the United States, for China, for India, and for Indonesia. Meaning when the population size is very big, the industry doesn't go for multinational trials because they can have access to the patient and they can have access to the medical expertise in a single country. But for all the other countries, and especially the European country, the industry always goes for multinational trials to access the patient and to access the medical expertise. If you go now to the right panel, you can see the situation for the non-industry sponsored trial, meaning trial sponsored by academic organization, university, and the situation is a bit similar also for the trial initiated by the small and medium-sized enterprise. You can see that here, in most cases, the trials are run in one single country, and there are also some exceptions like Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico is eligible for the NIH funding. So this means two things. The first thing is that there is a lack of funding available for multinational clinical trials, and the second one, there is a lack of research infrastructure able to support the management of these multinational trials. So this is the reason why ECRIN was created, and ECRIN was created first as a series of projects funded by the FP6, FP7, and then Horizon 2020. And the first project was very important. We didn't get a lot of money, but we had an opportunity to describe the state of the art and to describe the obstacle to multinational cooperation in clinical trials. And during this step, we realized that the main obstacle was the poor capacity of the academic sponsors and the clinical trial unit to manage the multinational trials, meaning the missing link is not on the investigation side, but on the trial management side. And the second thing we did is that we said, okay, there are clinical trial units in each of the countries, so let's connect them. But instead of connecting them individually, we decided to connect them through national networks. So we asked each country to establish a national network of clinical trial unit, and ECRIN is a coordinating, a federating body connecting the national network of clinical trial unit. Then the project went on, and in 2006 it was listed on the first roadmap of the European Strategy Forum for Research Infrastructure, and in 2013 it got the legal status of what is called an ERIC, which is a legal status issued by the European Commission for the Research Infrastructure, and this makes it sustainable due to the contribution of the member and observer country. 1/3 of the budget of ECRIN is coming from the contribution from the country, and in fact 2/3 of the project is coming from the project we are participating in. Currently there are 11 members and observers. This correspond to a population size of 315 million inhabitants, European citizens. So this is important because it is equivalent to the US population size, and this means that the recruitment of patients is equivalent to the capacity to recruit the patient in the US. For each of the country, we have a national hub. In the national hub, we have one employee, or in some cases 2 employees, called European correspondent, hosted in the national hub. The national hub coordinates the national network of clinical trial unit and is usually hosted by a public institution, university, hospital, or any other organization. Based on this, we are able to provide distributed services. We are a distributed infrastructure, but in addition, we provide distributed services, meaning that for a single trial, since all the trials we support are multinational clinical trials, we involve the distributed network of infrastructure to provide these services. For instance, let's consider that there is a trial on stroke. The principal investigator is based in Switzerland, and the sponsor is based in Switzerland. So in Switzerland, they will ask the Swiss Clinical Trial Organization to take the lead of the trial management task, and we have a European correspondent based in Bern because the hub of the Swiss Clinical Trial Organization is based in Bern, Cecilia. And Cecilia, we will be asked to interface with the investigator and the sponsor on the one side and with the other European correspondent in the other country. Let's say this trial should be run at the same time in Norway and in Spain. She will contact in Norway our colleague in Norway, Valentina, who is based in Trondheim, which is the coordinating hub for the Norwegian network, and she will also connect to Juan, who is based in Barcelona, and that represent the entry point, the hub for the National Network of Clinical Trials unit in Spain. And based on this organization, they are able to provide coordinated service to the management of clinical trials. What are these services? In fact, we start with the first step during which we provide this support for free, which is the first and the second step. The first step consists of establishing a collaboration agreement with the investigator and the sponsor in order to support them during the design of the trial, during the planning of the trial, and during the funding application. So we provide a lot of information. We really participate in the funding application. Then once the funding is secured, we provide also support in terms of risk assessment. We ask the network of European correspondents to establish a risk assessment regarding the main risk for the conduct of the trial, especially the risk with regard to the funding, to the patient recruitment, and to the timelines. And at the same time, we have our scientific board providing a peer review of the final or the pre-final protocol in order to make recommendation to improve the methodology, if relevant, of the clinical trials. And once everything is done, then we provide at non-for-profit cost, usually as a partner of the consortium, we provide the trial management services in terms of project management and trial coordination, in terms of getting the authorization for the clinical study, meaning ethical and regulatory authorization, the monitoring, the vigilance, data management, and other services. This represents another way of presenting the same services, but you will have here additional details. We provide services to multinational projects, meaning the condition to be eligible for a grant support is to have at least 2 member and observer countries in the consortium, but it's possible also for us to participate in trial and to provide services in countries who are not member and observer of the consortium. The first thing we do is once we have a contact with the investigator or the sponsor, we have a very quick decision-making process through the collaboration committee, and we are able within 1 week to say yes or no, we will collaborate with you. And so when we decide to collaborate, we provide support to the planning, the design, and the funding application. Once the project is funded, we go to the peer review committee that provide the methodological recommendation to improve and simplify, in most cases, the protocol, and we perform the risk assessment regarding the risk for the budget, the risk for the timelines, and the risk for the patient recruitment. And then we provide in red the operational services that are provided with the non-for-profit cost. Some are distributed services, meaning services provided in the different countries by the the different clinical trial units selected by the European correspondent, meaning regulatory and ethical approvals and study monitoring. And at the same time, we have central services like pharmacovigilance and data management provided centrally from accredited center. At the same time, and this is what we have in green in the right panel, we developed tools to support the services we provide. So the first thing we did was to design guidance on the methodology and the design of clinical trials, and we have published a series of papers, especially on the design of clinical trials on rare disease, on nutrition, on medical devices, and also general guidance to simplify the methodology and the design of the trial. We have another very important tool that is a major asset for ECRIN, which is the so-called campus, which is in fact a regulatory and ethical database where you can find all the information necessary to understand what is needed to get an approval by ethics committee and by regulatory authority for clinical trials on medicinal products, for clinical trials on medical device and on nutrition in 23 European countries. We have also developed a risk-based monitoring toolkit where you can find some recommendations regarding the risk-based monitoring strategies. We have developed a very important data center certification program, meaning we have listed 129 criteria for data centers certification, and then we have launched a policy of audits, and we audit every year a handful of data centers in Europe and now also outside Europe, because recently we were involved in a certification campaign in Japan, and this is a way to ensure the quality of the data management in the randomized clinical trials. And we have also launched a data sharing policy, which is a rather complicated issue, but we want to be able to support the investigator willing to share the data at the end of the trial. We have currently a portfolio of more than 50 clinical trials where we are involved. These trials are really multinational because there is a mean number of 6 countries per trial, and you can see that the population size matters because the bigger the country, the bigger the population size, the higher the number of participation. And you can see also that the coordination of the trial are mostly focused on Germany, France, Spain, and other countries. The funding of multinational clinical trials is critical. Funding is available in most European countries at the national level, but in most cases the funding is not able to cross the borders. So the best solution, of course, is the central budget, which is an opportunity provided by the Horizon 2020 calls. We are very active in the Horizon 2020 calls with a rate of success that is in the range of 20%, which is not optimal, but far better than the average rate of success, which is in the range of 4 to 5% for the clinical trials. Another funding opportunity for clinical research, I would say, is the Innovative Medicine Initiative, because it's pre-competitive research, so usually it doesn't fit with the funding of randomized clinical trials for registration purposes, but there are other clinical studies, especially for biomarker validation or stratification of patients. And then another opportunity are the ERANET. ERANET is funding opportunity where each country funds the component of a research project run in the country. So this was done, for instance, in 2016 for the ERANET on rare diseases, the ERARE, and we hope that more ERANET will adopt a similar strategy in the future. We are also involved in some other projects that we consider as infrastructure development project. We have a series of projects to establish partnership with the medical specialty or the investigation network in the field of brain research, in the field of infectious disease, of vaccine, of pediatric, of rare disease, and also of medical devices. We are involved in a series of projects to to cope with the digital revolution in clinical research, which is in fact a double revolution. We have some projects that focus on the issue of data sharing and data reuse, especially how to share the clinical trial data or how to reuse the data from existing data set like cohort or registries, or even the reuse of electronic health record. And on the other hand, we are also involved in the second aspect of this digital revolution, which is the personalized medicine aspect, meaning that now it's possible to get big data from high throughput omic technology and imaging technology and to run patient stratification studies supported by machine learning algorithms. So this is something we are heading for, and we would be able to provide operational services to this category of project in the near future. And then last thing, we have also international cooperation program. I just mentioned this one, the Clinical Research Initiative for Global Health, in which we play the role of co-secretariat with the NIH, and we have as partner the OECD and WHO. And this is a project whose objectives are a bit similar to the objective of ECRIN in Europe, but we meet the funding, the same level of funding, we miss also the legal status, and we miss the political will. So it's far more difficult to establish a similar network at the global level. And so just to finish, I would recommend you to go to the ECRIN website to find the contact list. The contact for the operational support of multinational clinical trials is coordinated by the Clinical Operation Unit in Paris, whose head is Sabine Kläger, with Marta Del-Alamo as project manager, and you have here the name of the European correspondent in the different country, and you can go to the website to find out the telephone number and email contact of this person. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jacques. And now let's move on directly to our last speaker of today, and that is Juan. And I'll share your presentation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so I will just jump into the presentation just to try to recover some time. So basically what we are going to, we are going to cover in this presentation is an overview of what is Elixir, what are the services that are there already available for you to use, and how we can engage in different calls. So just to go through the first one, what is Elixir? Well, Elixir is a infrastructure where we have already 23 nodes that provide services in different areas. You can see there are data, tools, compute, interoperability, training. And the way that it works is that every time that a new country joins Elixir, they analyze what are the best services that they have in their country for life science, and then made that part of Elixir. And from that moment, they became available to everyone in Elixir, but also to any other life scientist in Europe, because that is really a virtual infrastructure that anyone can use. So what are we trying to do with this infrastructure? So really, we have just now released our new program. It's the second program in Elixir, and it goes from this year 2019 to 2023. And basically, we have been looking at the different challenges that we need to face in the life science in the next years, and this is our way to address them and to help the life scientists in Europe to really get ready for what is coming. And you can download the version from that link, and it is a very good exercise to have a look and to see what is coming, what will come out of Elixir in the coming years. And how we made this happen. So what are the assets that we have to enable us to run this program, all the activities that we have. Something wrong with the slide. Here we are. So basically, as I mentioned before, we are now an infrastructure, a completely distributed infrastructure with 23 nodes, with more than 220 institutes involved. And we are organized through the Head of Node Committee, where we have the scientific director of each country that contribute to define what are our scientific goals. and to evaluate the performance of the whole infrastructure. And then we have what we call the Elixir platform ESCOs that are the ones that are in charge of running and developing the infrastructure at the technical level. And finally, we have, since last year, the Elixir communities. These are scientific communities that are there to validate that the services that we provide are really useful for the scientific communities and really to help us to improve the legacy services that we provide. And to be able to implement our program, we have a number of mechanisms like a legal framework that allow us to run transnational technical programs. How does it work? We can see that in the next slide. Basically, what we call our commission services, what it's going to do is enabling us to improve the services that are already there, and also to define and to create new transnational services, where we have, for instance, a community, like in this case is the plant science, where they could have an idea what they want to do, and then they join effort with the different platforms that we have in the Elixir infrastructure to be able to develop that new service and that new solution that will become then available through Elixir. And that was about what we are doing. And then I will move to the current services that you can find in Elixir. So if you go to the website, you will find this landing page where you can just explore the different services by scientific domain or by type of services. And you have also a number of key collections that we will have a look later in the coming slides. But basically what you have there is a collection of 149 services that are sustained by the Elixir nodes, and they are committed to sustain that long term. So you know that when you're using those services, they are going to remain there for a long period, and they will be, and if you deposit the data, for instance, you will be able to access that data without any problem. And you can use the link to explore all the services that we have there. But we are going to have a quick look by just going through a different platform, what are the main services that they provide. If we start with the data platform, one of the key collections that you have seen in the slide before is the Elixir Core Data Resources. These are resources that have been identified as the fundamental importance for research in life science. And the aim here, what we try to do here is to ensure that these services get long-term sustainability. And because these services are not just used in Europe, they are used globally, there has to be a global coalition to be able to support these services long-term. And I think we are in the path to make it happen, and it's already in the making, and we will have that soon. And then the other collection that we have coming also from the data platform is the Elixir deposition databases. These are resources that are recommended for the deposition of genomic data. And these already appear in several guidance provided by the funders. In this case, you can see in the right side, the ERC and the European Union program, both of them mention the Elixir deposition databases as places where you should look into deposit your data. We of course are there with the FAIR principles, and that's one of the reasons we are there. Then if we move to the next slide, we can see an example of one of these deposition databases. That's the European Genome Archive. This is very well known, and this concrete sample provides transnational access to data. And it's also ensured the compliance with the local legislation. So we ensure just that the data that can't leave the borders is the one that travel, and if not, it remain in the country. And together with the compute platform, there is a possibility to either you transfer data or you transfer the software to analyze the data, and then you can enrich your research. And this is about the data platform. If we move now to the interoperability platform, they have just selected the first round of recommended interoperability resources, and this is the one that you have in the right. These resources are the one that has been recommended as the most useful for the life sciences right now. And this it's happened the same with the previous list. So these lists are opened, and they are calls every year, and then they will be selecting new services, or maybe some of them could be that some of them just stop to be really useful and then they will disappear, but most likely we will be extending these collections. If we will now move to tools, we have also here several different kind of services. Here we highlight just 3 of them. So we have BioTools, so there's a collection of the different tools that you can find for life science. BioContainers will provide a containerized version of the tool, so you can deploy that tool in any cloud or in any SPC and run them, and open events that is able to benchmark the different tools. And finally, the compute platform is also one of the key aspects of the key components of the research infrastructure, where we provide the computational resources. And one of the key ones that we have in Elixir is the Elixir AI. That is the first one where we provide the means to authenticate people, but also provide secure access to all the resources, data as well as software. There is also data transfer services, cloud computer resources, and registry services. And finally, the training platform, where we have a portal that is used to share content, promote events, but also to build training workflows. And in addition to that, the training platform also provides standards for evaluating bioinformatics training across Europe. Then finally, we go to the last part, how to engage with Elixir. And one of the best ways to do that, sorry, going too fast. So here we are. So if in particular for health, it's very interesting to reach out to our communities, in particular to human data, where you can meet the community. These communities are open. They are not just Elixir, so anyone can join them. And you can see what are the services that they are using currently, and you can bring your own ideas to the community. That's one way to engage. The other way to engage is so by the specific support that we provide to some calls. In this is an example that one of the pages that you can find for personalized medicine, and you can see that there is a list of general services, and then there is also a way to get support for your data management plan. And then in the right side you have the list of experts in this area that you can contact across Elixir. Finally, to finish this presentation, is a summary of how you can engage with us. Sorry. Yeah, we are. So basically, what you want to do is just to access the services that are already in the catalog. There is nothing else that you need to do. You just need to go there and use them. If what you are envisioning is that you will need some modification on the current services, then there is a way to engage via the communities, or you can reach out to the platform, and if you are in one of our countries, you can reach the Elixir node. And when there is a need for major modification of the components of the infrastructure, then is when you really need to think about engaging the Elixir partners that are relevant for the kind of research you want to do. And of course, you can always contact us in our email address or using any of the other ways that you can see there, where we can you can reach to us, and then we will provide you the support you need for your project. And I think that was very quick, but yeah, I think in interest of time, yeah, I think we can leave it here.
Okay, thank you, Juan, for your presentation. And I would say now we have about 7 minutes for questions and answers. Maybe we will just start from the beginning and choose like 2 questions per speaker. Annalisa, is the biobank only cellular or DNA, or do you have data for neurocognitive data?
So thank you very much for this question. I think the easiest to reply is browse our directory, what exactly is in there, because we have population-based biobanks, And we have also disease-based biobanks, meaning that there are biobanks which could have interesting information for neurocognitive data. So just browse the directory and you can see what collections are available in our partner biobanks.
Okay, and can you tell us how BBMRI is funded?
Yes, so we are a publicly funded organization. We are funded by our member states. So these 20 member states, which maybe you can remember my presentation from the map, they fund us and also H2020 IMI projects. For example, the big project we are coordinating, Adopt BBMRI ERIC. This is an InfraDev call which was basically gave us budget to accelerate and to develop our services. So we are financed through the member states, but we have help from the H2020 project as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And maybe one last question, Annalisa, to you.
Yeah.
What about countries that are not members of the project?
So I think the question is, what about countries that are not members of BBMRI? Because we are not the project.
Yeah.
Many of our services are open access, so anybody can browse. For example, the knowledge base of ELSI. The services which are not open access are free for all the member states. But if you are coming from a country which is not a member state, a certain fee might apply.
Okay, thank you, Annalisa. Then let's move to Anne-Charlotte. So are patients also involved, or is patient involvement also part of the EATRIS?
Yeah, it's a very good question. We're actually currently in discussion with patient representative organization for long-term collaboration. So we're hoping that by the end of the year, of early 2020, we'll be able to also support academia with their patient engagement strategy. So that's something that's going to become an EATRIS service soon.
Okay. And is there an application process for an institute to be part as well?
Yes, there is an application process. Well, first, it depends where the institute is based. If it's based in one of our current members or observers, then the institute should directly get in touch with the representative of that country at EATRIS, and that information can be found on our website. If that institute belongs to a country that's not yet a member of EATRIS, then I would recommend that person to get in touch with us at the coordination office directly so we can discuss it further.
Okay, thank you. And last question for you, is Big Pharma under the scope of EATRIS or only SME?
Yes, so we do collaborate with large pharma and SME. So we have large pharma companies as users of the infrastructure. For instance, currently we have a long-term collaboration initiative running with GSK on inflammation imaging. So yes, it's definitely a group we interact with as well.
Okay, and I just saw that Jacques already answered his question, so maybe one more question for you then, Anne-Charlotte. Could you provide an example of a research project supported by EATRIS?
Yeah, so for instance, we were involved in a proposal for drug candidate development for an infectious disease. That was in a late preclinical stage, and the proposal aimed to move to a phase 1 clinical trial. And in this project, for instance, we were in charge of the regulatory strategy that include drafting the IMPD, so the investigational medicinal product dossier, and also preparing and updating the target product profile. So that will be some of the activities that we'll be in charge of in research projects. So the regulatory work package, that's one of the examples I can give.
Okay, thank you. Then Juan, we have a question for you as well. Are you going to join all the data in one platform?
Yeah, I guess the answer here is both, is yes and no. Meaning that there is an effort in the program, and you can see that in the program is the federated human data, what will deliver at a way to access all the data that is distributed. And I think this is the way to go, because it's quite difficult to make everyone agree on a single platform where you are going to put the data. But in a federation that allows to access all the data, that's specifically what we are trying to do with the application of the FAIR principles. I think that's probably the way to go.
Okay, thank you. So we're now actually perfectly in time. It's 4:45, and that's the time we wanted to end. So yeah, thanks to all of you speakers and to your for your great presentations. Yeah, so I wish you all a great evening, and I hope to see you at the next webinar as well, the 4th of February, where we will talk about European investigator involvement in US NIH, identifying funding opportunities and grant application processes. So thanks to all of you, and take care. And don't forget to fill in the survey afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.